It's me, Bob Doyle, the guy from The Secret. Yeah, the one who is here. Wow, I couldn't come up with anything that rhymed with secret that was at all rhythmically feasible. So, well, you saw what happened. All right, I'm trying to, will there ever come a day when this part is graceful? Why does it always have to be so? Why does it say connecting as Bob? What's happening? Life is always full of such surprises. Well, good morning. It's my morning anyway, and part of this is all part of the Bob Doyle Show Morning Edition, the daily show. Now hold on, I'm still trying to do technical things that I should not have to be doing right now. But I'm doing it. So I can now say good morning to Kathy and Dawn, two Dawns in the house, and one Sarah. So let's see if we can, I wish you could see what's on my iPad right now. Instead of, why am I telling you this? Hi Music Heals, joining us from YouTube again. Everybody wave to our YouTube folks while I take a sip of official Bob Doyle Show coffee. Anyone see the moon? I happened to wake up at 4 something and I tried to actually take a video of the eclipse part of it, but the moon's kind of far away. And even though I could zoom in with my camera on it, I could not get focus, and the slightest movement, and it's out of the screen. Plus, it has like an image stabilization thing built in, so I'd move it, and then it would kind of move over to... Anyway, it was just an exercise in frustration, so I have some video. Anywho, that's not what we're here to talk about. So what is? First of all, Wednesdays will now be our Law of Attraction Q&A day. Yay, hooray. Does that work? Hold on, it should. If I click the right button. Man, I need somebody here. There we go. Law of Attraction days on Wednesdays. And so that's, you know how that goes, and that's how this is going to happen. And I forgot why I was even telling you that. So why don't we I know why. Because I want you to, if this is something that the Law of Attraction is something that you're interested in, you want to be reminded when I go live with these things, even though I'm telling you, hey, all you got to do is remember Wednesdays, right? Like you're going to do that. So if you click the link, it's the first comment that I left in this thread here, bobdoyleshow.com/LOA notify. Then you can kind of get, basically it'll set you up to get notified when I go live. Some of you were notified about this very broadcast. You are living, breathing examples of the technology in action. Let's just see what's happening over here. I need to finish still getting set up for you. The thing is it's always like 10 minutes before the top of the hour, and I'm like, oh, I got plenty of time. I'll make my coffee. And then I'll sit down with plenty of time to spare. And I sat down today, and it was like, the countdown, 2 minutes left. And I was like, oh, not so many minutes to spare. So, and now because I'm very self-conscious of this, my fingers have decided not to work. So let me get back into Facebook. Let's go do this thing here, and hopefully that's going to work. Okay. So who wouldn't want to be reminded of this, right? Obviously, you want to be notified when this magic is happening. All right. Now, normally, obviously, this is all about your Law of Attraction questions, so feel free to ask them. And I know that some people posted something yesterday in response to Dawn's post about what your questions were, and I don't have them in front of me, so maybe Dawn can help me out with that. You can put the questions, just send them my way. But I do always like to start this with sort of a question, something for you to be considering. And this one... I get very easily derailed already. If I look at a comment, I'm like, what was I just saying 5.5 seconds ago? Right? This one is going to require my concentration and focus to stay on it and then to communicate it to you. it's probably more advanced than I need to be trying to bring up in a free law of attraction Q&A. And I'll know that when I'm 5 minutes in going, oops, I'm not even close yet. But anyway, this is number 3 cup of coffee, Don, to answer your question here. Here's the question I have for you now. What defines you? Bob, that sounds like a boring question. Oh, really? Well, let's think about it a little bit further. Let's think about it deeper. What defines you? That means everything you are, everything you believe yourself to be, everything that goes into how you be and the actions you take, the things you say. What defines you? Just think about that for a second, and then let me throw some things out to you. Because your immediate, I define myself. I know what I want, I know who I am, and I define me, and nobody tells me what to do. My actions are 100% inspired from me, because I define myself. To you now. To what extent do you think you might be defined by things like your relationships? Let me explain how that one works, in case you've never looked at it. The degree to which we live our lives into the expectations of others is monumental. So monumental that we don't even think about it. We couldn't possibly think. If we did, which I'm asking you to do, acknowledge how much of what you do, the actions you take, and now even the thoughts you think about yourself, believing them to be true, are based on or were based on the expectations of other people. I need to be this to be in this relationship with this person. Whether it's a parent, it could be a coworker, it could be a boss, it could be a spouse, some other significant relationship. How much do you judge and define who you are as based on some of the feedback you get from being in this relationship or this relationship? What do people feed back to you that you allow yourself to define yourself with? Is this question landing, first of all? If it is, I don't know. Thumbs up? I can't even see it because there's something weird happening on my iPad. But anyway, I'm just going to assume you're all going, yeah, I get it now. Because, see, we adjust our behavior, who we be, the action we take, the things we say. We adjust it because, well, they expect this of us. This is who I'm supposed to be in relation to them. And then after a while, what happens is we be that for so long. That's the action we take, the thoughts we tell ourselves. That now we're wired and now we're really truly being that, but it's not who we, at the deepest level, who we are, who we would be. What actions would you might have taken in your life if you weren't living into the expectations of others? Or believing what they believed about you? Sarah says it's landing. Dawn says it makes perfect sense. Tommy says, ha, 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 ha. Proof of everything I just said. Maybe it's your career that you allow to define you. I'm a whatever. And when you say that, when you allow your career to define you, what you often do is say, well, that's where, because this is my career and it's who I am, it's what I do, however you word it, then you diminish the time you spend exploring other aspects of who you truly are that could grow and blossom. Let's just use an example. Let's say that you've always had an interest. Let's say you're in your 50s or 60s or 70s, wherever, it doesn't matter. But you say, I've always kind of wanted to learn, I wish I could learn to paint. But I'm an architect or I'm an accountant, and I don't have the time to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That whole conversation about I don't have the time, we've all just bought into that we've all just bought into that. You can take 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day to start to learn what it is to paint. What are the difference of the brushes? What are the paint? Da-da-da. Theory. Watch this show. Watch that show. 15, 20 minutes, 30 a day. Before you know it, in a year, you're painting. And if you really commit, you're getting better and better and better and better. And in 5 years, you could be a painter, a bona fide money-making career painter. But you never would have become that if you had listened to the old conversations about what defined you. If you're in a relationship where people don't believe that you could be, do, or have something, and you let that define who you are as a possibility, then you will not be, do, or have those things. However, if you can just recognize that, oh my God, I'm totally defining myself based on them and has nothing at all to do with who I am, except, and here's the advanced little topic, except to the extent that I am allowing myself to interpret it this way as a negative thing or as a limiting thing. So it all comes back around. Ooh, did anybody get that? See, Lynn, as I was talking about painting, I was thinking, yes, just start watching Bob Ross little by little. The point is honoring any of those little those aspects of you, that creative aspect of you, whether or not it has anything to do with how you are defined as a whole by society and your relationships. If you know inside that you want to explore this, I urge you to find the time to invest in doing it for the doing of its sake and fertilizing that seed that you have. Because the seed that you've been fertilizing, the career that's unfulfilling, the relationship that's not quite right, or the whatever, that's what's big because you've been putting your attention on it. You've been defining this is who I am, I guess, this is what it is. But again, you're using external feedback to tell you what's happening to who you are or who you should be. And what I'm trying to give you is the freedom to realize that you don't have to do that. One moment, because this is going to go lukewarm on me in a hurry. I'm going to jump into Nino's question here from yesterday, because I could probably tie it in somehow, and it's a little bit long to fit neatly on the screen. But he says, is there any way to tell where the line is between patience and the need to make a change? I've been working very hard in my life intentionally using LOA for a while now, but don't see much in the way of results. So there'd be lots of different questions I would ask you about, how have you been implementing it? What are your recurring thoughts? Really, I mean, I can hear from people all the time, I've been working with the law of attraction, but if you've been sending out the same stuff, you've been taking the same action, you can say you've been doing it, thinking that you've been doing it, but what you have, and you have, in fact, been, the law of attraction is always at work in your life, but it's just not the way that you've been wanting. So there might just be some tweaks in the how you've been doing it part. But in terms of the being patient and the need to make a change, look, you need to, one of the things about this is it's this very intuitive thing. We're meant to be tuned into our intuition, to know what it is to have a gut response and trust it, right? So when you are in fear about making a change, you'll know what that feels like. And then there's another time when there's a certain peaceful calm, like there's change coming. Vision is part of your vision is change, but it doesn't have to feel forced. If it's all, so much of this is about the attachment, the energy that you have with this whole idea about patience and the need to make a change. That could mean one thing to you and something completely different to anybody else in this room. And that vibration, what you're calling this, it's important to untangle where that came from, or at least it can help to know where it came from, but to untangle it using some sort of a release technique or whatever to release that energy around it. But this is the thing. Thank you, Joel. But this is the thing about the law of attraction in general and people wanting to learn it and master it and all this. They take these answers that are oversimplified for one person and try to apply it to themselves, and it's not necessarily going to work. My response to Lynn's particular situation, even though her question might be the exact same as Kathy or Face's or Joel's, the answer could be 100% different for every single person based on what's caused that resistance. What is the limiting? What are you telling yourself? Whose voice are you hearing? How have you defined yourself? What are you allowing to define you? Because you truly get to create that definition for yourself. But most of us don't. Most of us are looking for feedback from the outside saying, how are we doing? Am I good enough? Does this person love me enough? Right? If this person loves me completely all the time, blah, 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 then I must be okay. But if they don't, then okay, so there's something wrong with me. And that is such a common thing and not at all true. But that thought, once we have that thought, now we make it mean something about ourselves, and we spin out this very different vibration that whether you go down the law of attraction energetic route or not, you're going to carry that lack of something, that little piece of doubt about yourself, that your own worth, your value, you're going to carry it into every conversation around business or money or relationships, and you're not even going to know it. But it's going to impact your ability to attract the whatever it is that you're trying to attract, because you've let somebody else's opinion define you. And the only thing that their opinion meant is that they're not a match for where you are at right now. But you let their opinion, their energy dominate your own, and you made it mean something about you, and you made it something of a definition of who you are. At least it affects your being. You become timid in certain situations. Well, they didn't think I was good enough for this then, so why should I do it now? Blah, blah, blah. Can you see how it limits you? Can you see how letting anything from the outside define you is very, very limiting? Now, you know, it could work the other way too. If you're surrounded by positive, people just telling you about your greatness all the time, well, then it can work. But it's working for you because you're allowing it to, the same way the other one was. The point is, you get to choose. It's just we live in a society that's so inundated with negativity, it seems, and that people are so trying to be real and live in reality and blah, 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 and that generally has this negative overtone. That's the general mood. That's the general way we've been taught to expect the worst, to not trust, that the universe has to earn its goodness in our world, because all the evidence is that it's whatever, hostile. Oh my. I'm shaking, but that could be the caffeine. Hi, Nori and Natty. Nori and Natty, all in the house, being quiet as a little mouse. Again, the Bob Doyle Show is a musical. We will break out into song at any given moment. You never know. You just never know. Dawn, thank you. I'm glad that this was what you wanted to do. So, yeah, and want to invest... So Music Heals says she wants to invest time in a new creative hobby. And I'm telling you, that is like, right, if I had a list of my missions for 2018, that's going to be right number one or number two. Just exploring my own creative expression, and this is my own thing, without trying to attach it to money. I talked about this recently. I don't remember if it was in my group coaching program or on one of these things. But as an entrepreneur, sometimes you can get hooked into trying to monetize everything, right? And then it becomes, well, if I'm not monetizing something, it's probably not worth my time. Now, that's a broken thought, but some entrepreneurs can get into that, and I certainly did. Because there was something about when I first became an entrepreneur that was so exciting about, wow, I can turn my ideas into revenue. Right? But then that became, everything I do should generate revenue if it's creative. Well, that's a really nasty little virus you do not want running in your system. Because then what happens, right? I then say, well, if playing the ukulele or learning more about computer animation or whatever, if that's not generating revenue for me right now, I don't have the time. I need to prioritize this or that, the thing that's generating revenue. And then what happens is parts of you just start to die on the vine, right? What happens to me is right before they die, something happens. I go, I'm not letting them die. And I start to, just start spending more time on them. But there's no need to keep letting them die, right? Just so So I have taken on. I'm I'm actually have my assistant scheduling for me creativity sessions to sit down and do computer animation or to play the ukulele or to do something, whether or not it has to do with revenue, money, or whatever, just because it's good for my soul, right? And so that I can, in fact, get better at things, and then that opens up new possibilities, right? The more I share it, the more opportunity I have for somebody to see it or hear it or whatever, and say, yeah, I'd like to do that. I'd like to work with that, or here's $8 zillion for you because you made my day because of that crazy ass picture that you did, right? But if you don't put it out there, the world doesn't know. So that's if there's just one thing I could say, because and the thing is, when we talk to bring it around to the defining piece, we are defined by that kind of thing. That's what should be defining us. What is that creative impulse in us, or are the creative impulses that are wanting to come out that we're suppressing because something else has defined us, right? The relationship has defined us, or the career has defined us, and we're denying the very thing that really truly is us, right? How we would express through our art, or through a business, or through cooking, or through having a loving relationship, however we are here to express ourselves creatively. We need to do that. And if we can see that we're not doing it, it might behoove us to look at, where am I getting that? Where am I getting this definition of me that says I can't do that? Is it because they said that, or because I perceived that they said that, or I'm interpreting it as they said that? Because ultimately, you also have to take responsibility for and I mentioned this briefly before, you are interpreting what they're saying as negative or as limiting. It may be that that was their intention, but you still are choosing to buy into it, to that interpretation. You ultimately have the choice to take whatever is coming at you and interpret it however you want. You don't have to go with what 99% of the population would do, because that's how they've learned to interpret somebody saying something negative to you. Oh, well, then I will feel negatively. You don't have to. Easier said than done, Bob. Yeah, I grant you that. All right. Hold on. I'm trying to read a long question. Oh, and there it is. It's too long for me to. I'll try it, but you'll see it just goes right off the screen. So, all right, let's just breathe and read it. The law of attraction is strange. It can occur that way. How is it that small things come through when I visualize them and not the more important things? Well, you just answered your own question in a way. We determine what's small and what's important. And the more importance we put on something, the more resistance sometimes we have to it. Oh, I must have this. And when you're tuned into the I must have this because it's important, you're actually tuning into the absence of it. The feeling of urgency that you're feeling is this massive feeling of lack. I need this right now because I don't have it. That's the energy around it. So if you're interpreting something as big, you're basically saying to the universe, this is going to be harder than this easy thing. But you are the one who defines it, not the universe. Simple example, I would think of someone about how long I haven't seen them, and then bam, they show up, right? No attachment. You're just having a casual thought. You're tuned into the feeling of being with them. You're not sitting there going, but I'll bet you they're never going to show up now. You're not thinking any of that. You're literally authentically tuned into the vibration of them, 100% receptive to the experience of being with them. That's what you're feeling in the moment with no resistance. But I could be visualizing something for literally years and nothing, because you're probably obsessed with the visualization and what the energy around it is. I don't have this, so I'm visualizing it, but I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. And the more you do that, that's an insidious little seed that gets planted too, because the first time, you may start all this like, I'm totally in the feeling of having it now. And then if it's not there in whatever time frame your ego has determined, you're going to give this law of attraction thing. If it doesn't show up in that amount of time, then you go, oh, it hasn't shown up yet. And then that's the seed, because now the next time it hasn't shown up, the next day you start putting more and more energy to it still hasn't shown up. And now the whole energetic balance is whacked. What prevents that from happening, you ask? A 100% trust in the process, in knowing that the law of attraction is actually what I'm telling you that it is. And it's not the magic thing that a lot of people are saying that it is, but that all those limiting beliefs, you can't hide your limiting beliefs and the energy that is from the universe. And not just that, if you don't want to think about it on that invisible woo-woo level, if you have these limiting beliefs about yourself, wherever they came from, however it was defined, it's going to impact the action you allow yourself to take. And in the real world, quote unquote, it's all about action. What's happening? Who are you talking to? What are you putting your offer in front of? How are you presenting yourself out? Who are you being? And that is going to be informed by all that negative stuff in there, or that limiting stuff. So you got to deal with it one way or the other. And this whole law of attraction conversation is just showing you on an energetic level the impact that it's having. And also, when you understand it on the energetic level, you understand that, wow, things like thoughts and visualization can actually make a difference, even though it seems sort of magical. When you understand what this is really about, and the energetic nature of our thoughts and all this stuff, and how that translates into a practical, everyday experience of this stuff in action, then the whole thing becomes more accessible. Really, truly, getting the magical thinking out of this conversation, you can still be in awe of it. You can still be like fascinated and in love with it and truly like wow about it, because it is. But when we wrap any sort of magical thinking, there's that little seed of this shouldn't be happening. We're breaking some sort of a law here. And if that's and that kind of thinking will stop it, or at least slow it down. Hi, Vanessa and Dina and Jennifer and Steve, all these people who snuck in while I was just railing. And look at that, I'm right up there at the top of the hour again. Look, you guys, I wanted to share a little bit more about the group coaching program that's coming up, but I'm ready to receive you. I'm ready for you to enroll. I'm ready right now. You could go to boundlessliving.com/group coaching and enroll right now. But I know a lot of people, but I can't enroll until I hear 1,000 testimonials and read, I need to be presented with your offer 7 times. Don't you know how this works, Bob? And that's the part I'm not quite ready with. But we're doing this group coaching, and this is where you come in for 90 days with me and the group. That's why they call it group coaching, because there's more than just you and me. That would be another thing, which I don't do anymore because the group coaching is way more effective. So, but next week we'll talk a little bit more about that, because we're starting in March. So somebody needs to get on the ball here. But I was out gallivanting to Russia and whatnot. Yeah, that's right. I was gallivanting. I bet you'd like to see video of that, wouldn't you? What does gallivanting look like? How is gallivanting defined for Bob Doyle, and how would that manifest? Manifest? Is that something you rent for a wedding? I need the manifest. Oh, not the woman the vest. The man the vest. Wordplay. Folks, well, I think I answered maybe 2 questions that were asked. But hopefully, again, planted that whole seed. I'm big into the seeds and planting them and whatnot. So hopefully I planted the seeds and you know what to do with them. Think about what you are allowing to define yourself, or you know what I'm saying. And then, what would you like to define yourself? What do you think is really in there that's wanting to define you that you're not expressing? Look, I don't need to. You're smart people. You know exactly what I meant by all of this. So now go do something with it.